Welcome back, guys and girls. I'm coming at you with my next reading of Clinical Sports Psychology by Frank Gardner and Zella. Uh, Hope you guys like my channel so far. Click on the like button. My microphone works. Hear me now? And to follow me also on this channel, and also I'd like to leave your comments and see what books you want me to read, or if you have any suggestions, uh, leave them on the comments below. But I'm on chapter 3 of this book. It's been pretty good so far. Learned a lot. The first 2 chapters were basically an introduction and the differences of all the history. Actually, check that. I'm on. I skipped around. Anyway, okay. So, I'll just start with chapter 1 again. But all right. Why another history? Beginning with Norman Triplett's work with the competitive cyclists in the 1890s. Excuse me. And continuing with Coleman Griffin's work in the 1920s and 30s on the psychology of coaching. The study of sports psychology has a long and rich history. Excuse me. Long and rich history. During the 1950s and 60s, sports psychology as a discipline was primarily found in departments of physical education and exercise science, and issues relating to motor learning and development dominated sports psychology research. From this research perspective and professional interest, the North American Society of the Psychology of Sports and Physical Activity, NASPA or PSFA, was founded in 1967 to promote and disseminate basic research on the psychology of sport and physical activity. As both the theory and practice of social cognitive theory took hold in professional psychology, interest grew regarding the cognitive, affective, and behavioral strategies athletes utilize to optimize competitive performance. This interest led to an increasing focus on direct application of sports psychology services and began the evolutionary process of bringing sports psychology into the mainstream of professional psychology as an applied profession providing a specialized service. Sports psychology has gained both professional and consumer recognition and acceptance over the past 25 to 30 years. We refer readers interested in a comprehensive history of sports psychology to an excellent chapter by Williams and Straub. Traditional definitions and scope of practice. Sports psychology can be defined by its overreaching concern with the psychosocial factors that influence both participation and performance in sport and exercise, and that derive or emanate from such participation and performance. Basic research in sports psychology includes diverse topics such as achievement motivation, group dynamics and team cohesion, uh, coaching education, style and methods, children's sports, parent involvement, fan experience, sport violence, leadership, exercise and psychological well-being, issues and benefits of physical activity, and characteristics of peak athletic performance. In addition, numerous scientific and popular books and professional journals focusing exclusively on sport and exercise issues have appeared over the past 2 decades. Applied sports psychology is a phrase that has evolved over the last 2 decades to differentiate the application of sports psychology principles from the science of developing and refining such principles. In 1985, the Association of the Advancement of Applied Sports Psychology was founded to bring together professionals with both psychology and sports science to promote the study of applied sports psychology. In 1988, the United States Olympic Committee established a registry of sports psychology professionals that differentiated sports psychologists by educational background and professional activity. The registry characterized sports psychologists as educational, clinical, and research sports psychologists in order to provide information on who was trained to provide a given service. Makes sense? Educational sports psychologists identified practitioners with education, training, and experience in providing psychoeducation and are for performance enhancement. Clinical sports psychology identified practitioners whose professional background allowed them to counsel athletes using clinical methodology to enhance psychological well-being, such as monitoring clinical issues. Research sports psychologists identified sports psychologists whose educational background directed them towards research and evolution in sports psychology. While professionals were encouraged to apply for more than one designation, if appropriate, this categorization initiated the tendency to both oversimplify and artificially compartmentalize sports psychology into educational and clinical. As a result of these categories, two unfortunate misconceptions evolved that are still largely in place. The first is that an athlete's performance concerns can be readily differentiated as those due to major uh, psychopathology and those due to insufficient mental skills. Following directly from the first, the second misconception is that sports psychology professionals trained in clinical or counseling psychology are suited to treat or form or who treat the former, while those trained in exercise science are trained to consult with the latter. This overall simplistic dichotomy has resulted in intense debates regarding the educational background and practice competencies required for the education or for the ethical practice of sport psychologists. So that means is that the first is insufficient mental skills, and based on what the education is of the sports psychologist determines like how well they can provide services. I don't know. Okay. Certification and new standards. 1990s saw an upsurge in research, professional interest, and consumer acceptance of sports psychology. In 1991, AAASP implemented guidelines for recognizing individuals who achieved minimum standards of education and training in applied sports psychology. In theory, this certification ensured that individuals practicing applied sports psychology possessed the basic education, training, and experience necessary to provide such services. While some have hailed these standards as a major step in the professionalization of sports psychology, AAASP certification has not been without its detractors, who have questioned the fairness and appropriateness of applying those standards to professionals educated and trained in the sports sciences. The utility of AAASP certification for professionals seeking employment in sports psychology and the relevance of certification for the consumer seeking qualified practitioners of sports psychology. As a direct consequence of AAASP certification, the USOC abandoned its previous registry standards and instead required AAASP certification and American Psychological Association APA membership for inclusion in its registry. As a result of requiring APA membership, the USOC thus accepted and required adherence to APA's ethics code. Makes sense. I guess you have to be a AAA SP member as well as an APA member in order to be a sports psychologist. But my 15 minutes is up. Click on the like button if you like the video, and I'll be back a little bit later tonight with this bad boy, Kitchen Confidential with the late, great Anthony Bourdain. But click on the like button, and I'll see you soon.